Yeah, I'm excited to get out this little release of svelte-standard 0019. I'm just going to go over a couple things real quick. I'm working remotely, so this is a one-shot video, so bear that in mind. Now, I did correct an error that was with the Prosmere support. Initially, when V10 launched, I had to include some of the Prosmere npm packages directly into svelte-standard for support, but I'm not sure when it happened, but that just caused a conflict of between the library, the versions that Foundry installed. So it just so happened that there was a very subtle flaw that if you had nothing in an editor and then you started to edit, you couldn't backspace. Like it was really, it's fixed now. Foundry has increasingly exposed some aspects of Prosmere. It's not quite there yet. There's a lot of things that are missing if you're going to do some advanced work. But anyway, I'm now fully using the support through the Foundry Prosmere bundle. So that's that. That fixes that one library incompatibility aspect. But there's a really cool new thing that I got implemented for 0019, and I'm looking for some feedback from y'all. And that is the ability to load a Svelte component and create your own customized sidebar tab. And so I came up with like a really cool way of doing that. It turns out with the Foundry sidebar, it's rendered once on the screen, so we can do some injection of our own Svelte components. So you can see here, this is just, of course, it's very like hello world thing. Obviously you're going to want to have your Svelte component that has its own customized sidebar doing cooler stuff. Let me just get this guy out of the way. I don't know, put him over here. Yeah, you right click, it automatically launches the same component that you configure for the sidebar. Automatically, it'll handle like the pop-up condition for you. We'll go through a couple of some of the options though, because there are many. And now I'm running in the developer mode, so I mean, check this out. It's super cool. Why don't I just actually get rid of this? Well, nah, this is just gonna kind of be in the way. Whatever. So yeah, let me pop over to the actual component. You can see we have defined here test tab, and I could just start typing, doing our Svelte developer thing, or dev server thing, and you can see how it's fully, yeah, I mean it's using HMR and you can fully customize your sidebar tab using the dev server. It's super cool. There's a lot of options. You're gonna want to look. Let's see, if I switch over to svelte-standard, under application, FETT sidebar control, I've got a fair amount of documentation in there. I'm not going to show it here, but it's not that much code to pull all this off. It's just the right code, basically. But let's switch back over to where I'm doing a little demo here. You're going to want to use a setup hook. And you have to interface with FETT sidebar control, adding your additional sidebar. It's all data defined, which is awesome. You're going to want to do that in the setup hook. That way it will run just before the rendering of the sidebar, and internally to FETT sidebar control. Once you add like an additional sidebar, it takes it from there and does all the injection after the sidebar is initially rendered. It does really cool things too, like it'll actually expand the width of the sidebar based on the width of your sidebar tab automatically for you. So if multiple sidebars are added, it just expands the width of the sidebar tab so that everything fits. I've tested it across game systems. We'll talk about one thing, maybe even load up. Warhammer is always the problem game system when it comes to styles and whatever. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. So let's look at the FETT sidebar control add method. This adds a sidebar. Usually you're always going to want to include it before ID, and that is an ID that already exists for one of these sidebar tabs. In the documentation, I go over the Foundry default ID names, but it's like chat, combat, scenes, actors, items, journal, tables, cards, yeah, playlists, compendium, and settings, I believe. So if you don't include one of these things, it's going to include the tab after the collapse expand thing. So that's probably what you don't want. So always include an item, or always include an ID of an existing sidebar tab. And if you add one and then you add another for some reason, you can reference the one that you previously added. So you have to create this is the ID for the sidebar tab, and that's directly associated with the CSS ID. So pick something smart there. Icon, just the font awesome icon, and that's what displays up in the sidebar tab here. You can also, and I'll show in just a moment, you can actually also define the icon as a svelte configuration object to use your own custom component to do whatever you want up here, the inside here. So like if you want to show state, kind of similar how the chat log has like an additional little thing that pops up when there's chat messages. You can provide your own custom component as the icon. Title, that's actually the title of the Popout. And we'll talk about, like, you don't have to actually manage this application. It's really cool, but you can. Tooltip, that is just the tooltip that goes up here in the sidebar tab. You can define, instead of using the default ad hoc svelte application that is provided for you to mount the same component in a Popout version, you can define, you can use Popout application and pass any svelte application to it, basically, any child of svelte application. We'll also take a quick look too, like you can override the options that are passed to the Popout, so you can change anything that would be in the svelte application options. And here just change the title and the width. We'll take a look at that real quick. The last thing is that you just provide a svelte configuration object. This is the configuration. This is again a very, very basic component here. It's not really doing much, obviously, but it shows passing in props. What you're gonna want to do when you create your sidebar is use the props field to pass in your control code, your model control code. I highly recommend not doing everything in a svelte component. You can if you want to. It's just not as clean. You can set up your own, so all the code that controls what's going to be in the sidebar, whether that's through svelte stores or however you want to do it, you should pass in as a prop, basically. So let's just take a quick look here. I mean, I am running in the developer mode, so in this section, with being the JS file with no HMR management code, it's going to just reload, but that's fine. I'm gonna comment out this icon here, and I'm gonna put in the svelte. Oh, great! No, go away. So it's gonna reload, but you can see here now we have. Oh yeah, we're slightly too small here. Whatever. Don't care. So you can see we're actually loading that svelte component over here, and it's cool. It's even in like now it's like if you when you use a svelte component for the tab up here, you do want to control the width. Like when I put in like test like this, it's not going to change the width of the sidebar. So you want to be very careful, to choose how much space you want to use for your sidebar tab component. Whatever, but you can see it's all HMR. Like this is going to be really cool for folks that want to add the sidebar, especially now that there's like custom documents or basic documents or whatever. I understand that is a feature being added in V11. This allows you to add a svelte powered sidebar panel to show your custom documents, or whatever you're going to do with that system. You can actually use this as a module developer, so you're not limited to being a system developer. And well, that's cool about that little icon thing. Whatever. Let's modify the pop out. So we're overriding the default. We're not overriding. We're just it's gonna instead of using the title here, we're going to be overriding that one, the title, but the width as well. So like if we pop it out right now, you can see the width is the standard sidebar. Oh yeah, just saved. Let's get that, and let's just go to our little pop-out thing here. So now you can see the width is 500 and the title is overridden. I mean, that's the basics. I'm not going to show, like, again, you can provide your own custom Svelte application based JS class right here, and it will display instead of the default sidebar pop-out window. Again, it's really nice because all this is managed for you. It'll expand the width of the sidebar for whatever icons that you put up in the tab section here, but it's all data driven. You don't have to actually write. All you have to do is provide a custom sidebar component or svelte component, and this new mechanism takes it from there. There's one other cool. Oh, so there is like a get method. So let me see here. I mean, it's not really whatever. It's cool. And then you put in the ID, and then you can say get pop out. Like there's a couple things that you can get from it. You can get access to the components that you add, the sidebar channel. So it's just go read the documentation. But yeah, like the weight thing here. I mean, I guess I could just kind of show it. If we scroll back into the, oh my god. Okay, cool. Whatever. It's just gonna be a callback. Now, oh yeah, here it is. Oh my god. Oh, whatever. You saw it briefly. Screen's kind of okay. Cool. But yeah, it basically is just the promise that gets resolved after the sidebars have been loaded. And again, you can't create an async method for setup because this code has to run before the rendering of the sidebar. So if you want to use the wait method in the same callback that you create, just use it as a promise. Anyway, that kind of shows the new features. Like I'm definitely gonna want to talk to some of the system developers and find out, like, I can easily expand this FVT sidebar control to say remove sidebars, like even remove Foundry sidebars that exist if that's even necessary, or perhaps even replace them. So without having to like write a whole bunch of custom code to modify the sidebar, it should be much easier just to expand the API. Like I might add like a replace method where you, instead of before ID, it's like replace ID, and so that will replace like an exist. Like say if you want to create your own customized combat tracker that's Svelte based or whatever, you could just call FVT sidebar control replace combat, and then provide, like, very similar to the same setup here as we have for adding a customized sidebar. Anyway, so that's some of the cool new stuff in svelte-standard 0019. I am working remotely when I get back. I mean, I still have to go over all the stuff that was released in the last massive TRL update. And but hey, I hope this is like really cool for everybody, and have a good day.